Modern philosophies of education.
Hello! 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 Good morning everyone! Magandang araw in Tagalog, mayong aga in Ilonggo, mayong buntag in Bisaya, and mapya mapita sa ating mga kapatid na Muslim. I am Sir Javon Lagdaminic Ban. And this is my partner, Ma'am Mary Rose Copia. And our topic is all about
Reconstructivism.
So today's reporting, we will tackle about the meaning of Reconstructivism, the advantage and disadvantage of Reconstructivism, the philosophy of education, the philosopher, and the aims of education. So now, let's start!
What is Reconstructionism? Also known as Social Reconstructionism, this theory claims to be the true successor of the Progressivism and declares that the chief purpose of education is to reconstruct society in order to meet the cultural crisis brought about by the social, political, and economic problems.
So now let's discuss the difference between Reconstructivism and Reconstructionism.
Constructivism is all about theory or philosophy. Say that the learners will construct their own unique meanings for concepts. In Reconstructivism, it is more focused on the students or the learners. Ibig sabihin, learner or student-centered ang Reconstructivism. This is Reconstructionism. It is more focused on educational method which is based on the Reconstructivist learning theory. This is also a method or strategies used in the classroom. Reconstructionism aims improve and reconstruct society, education for change. The teacher's role, agent of change and reform, and the focus, transformation of present to future landscape, and the trends is global education, convergence, and transformative education.
So now let's discuss the Social Reconstructionism philosophy.
Social Reconstructionism is a philosophy that emphasizes the addressing of social questions and a quest to create a better society and a worldwide democracy. It is a philosophical approach that challenges and other rigid and dogmatic points of view. Also, it helps to provide new perspectives on social, political, economic, and other relevant issues. Ibig sabihin, ang Reconstructionism is a strategic philosophy for transforming society.
For example, in a classroom setting, in a traditional way, they use chalk and blackboard. But now, in modern era, they use gadgets.
Next is Social Reconstructionism in education. It's an idea that has been around for a while, and many different schools of thought influence it. In general, the goal of Reconstructionism in education is to eliminate any form of oppression within the educational system, and it allows the students to be involved in the school, like school leaders or role models in the schools. Constructionism is a philosophy of education that focuses on empowering the learner to take control of their own learning. It has been argued that this approach is most effective for learners who struggle with more traditional and linear style of learning. Social Reconstructionism in education is designed so that learners experience learning in an environment where they are treated like democratic participants. Teachers are there to help and guide, not to control. It is a philosophy that leaves room for the idea of progress and the notion that education is a lifelong and just a process of merely learning skills to be used at work. Ibig sabihin, ang role ng teacher is to guide or facilitate lamang.
So now, let's proceed to Social Reconstructionism in classroom.
Reconstructionism in the classroom. The need for a curriculum that is more inclusive of all learners. A push for the inclusion of Reconstructionism in education, and how Reconstructionism can provide an authentic and holistic approach to learning, and the benefits of having a teacher who models empathy, compassion, and understanding, and provides students with learning requisite for altering social, economic, and political realities, and students should be involved in creating a more equitable society. And next is Reconstructionism in curriculum. The curriculum would encourage students to directly apply what they are learning through social activism, reform, and change. Also, it includes bringing students into their community. Ideally, students would spend half of their time in the classroom and the other half outside of the classroom in different settings. And the curriculum would also encourage students to be curious and inquire about the world with the goal of having them reinvent it. So it is more focused on innovation and invention. Question and answer portion.
Sir, I have a question. Bakit democratic ba ang Reconstructivism? Kasi goal-seeking interest siya. So majority of humankind, yun po ang masusunod. Thank you, sir. You are welcome.
Char.
So let's tackle about the advantages and disadvantages of Reconstructionism in education.
So one of the advantage of Reconstructionism education is it advocates for teaching history and other academic subjects from the perspectives of people who were directly affected by them. The advantage of this approach is that it teaches students about their own histories and those of others around the world. It is more engaging and allows students to understand better the material they are learning. And last, the Bible is a reliable source of knowledge. It emphasizes the importance of understanding God's will for our lives and how we can live in accordance with it. So let's proceed to the disadvantages of Reconstructionism in education. It can be difficult for teachers to implement this teaching style because they must change their entire curriculum. Second, this approach also has drawbacks. It can be difficult for teachers to find resources on topic outside their expertise, and some feel like this approach leaves out important information.
So the main principle of this education is never settle on what is, but what might be. Chika time! If the true successor of Reconstructionism is progressivism, what is the philosophical root of Reconstructionism? I will give you 5 seconds to answer. So what's the correct answer? The answer is pragmatism. Or pragmatism? Pragmatism. Different school, different pronunciation. So now let's discuss the philosophical root of Reconstructionism.
The philosophical root of Reconstructionism is pragmatism, a reasonable and logical way of doing things or thinking about problems that is based on dealing with specific situations instead of ideas and theories. In this philosophy, they tend to focus more on the background or the situation of the society or in the classroom instead of the ideas and theories of others.
Sir Jagon, yes, Mr. Roy Arman, ano yun? Bakit connected ang pragmatism, progressivism, and social reconstructionism sa isa't isa? Okay, Roy, I will explain to you. Because pragmatism, progressivism, and social reconstructionism aims to teach one how to think so that one can adjust to an ever-changing world. These three educational philosophies, Roy, also aim to improve and reconstruct our society. That is the answer. Thank you very much, sir, for the bright idea. You are so wonderful. At this point, let's expound the schooling or the purpose of schooling in social reconstructionism.
The purpose of schooling, according to the Foundations of American Education by George Wilson, critically examine all cultural and educational institutions and recommended change and reform as needed to teach students and the public not to settle for what is, but rather to dream about what might be. Prepare students to become agents for change. In this statement, they are preparing the young ones or the learners to become a quest for a better future or a brighter future someday. So sabi nga ni Dr. Jose Rizal, ang kabataan ay pag-asa ng bayan.
Alam niyo ba anong pinakamagandang view ng social reconstructionism?
Ano?
E di, Yung I love you mo.
Wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you
Okay, walay. So, ang magandang view ng social reconstructionism is ang focus is ang learner. So, learner-centered po tayo sa social reconstructionism. So, let's discuss the nature of the learner. Nature of the learner. Students are a critical element in bringing social change. Students are capable of initiating and adapting to change, especially if they are influenced by appropriate adult role models. So if we have good role models or good leaders, and our students are very well learned, so we will have a good and brighter future. Instructional methods, it is the techniques or approaches used by the teacher. So now let us discuss the instructional methods. These are the instructional methods used by the teacher in social reconstructionism. First, cooperative learning, problem solving, and critical thinking. Second, focus on active learning and activities outside of the school. Third, students spend time in the community to learn its problems. Fourth, would analyze, research, and link issues to place in the community and larger society. And lastly, take action or responsibility in planning for change. This method is more focused on the activities of the students, both individual or group activity. Next is classroom management. First, teacher and students question the assumptions of the status quo and examine social issues and future trends. Second, organize classroom in a classless, non-sexist, and non-racial manner. Third, less emphasis on management and control and more focus on community building. Fourth, atmosphere promotes analysis, criticism, and research would best describe the classroom environment. And last, conflict resolution and differences in worldviews would be encouraged and reinforced. Non-sexist means refers to language that avoids gender stereotyping. Short students have the ability to think in critical terms and expose their assumptions and practices. Trivia of the day! Did you know that there are positive and negative sides of being a social reconstructionist teacher? Let's see. So these are the summary of becoming a social reconstructionist teacher. First, must be willing to engage in ongoing renewal of their person and professional lives. Second, criticize and evaluate work conditions and extend educational role outside the classroom. Third, must be comfortable with constant change. Fourth, dislikes the status quo and views of school as a particular culture in evolution. Fifth, willing to engage and form alliances with the community and parents to make the school better. The role of the teacher is the teacher can suggest what one can do about these problems, and rather than being passive dispensers of knowledge, teachers should become facilitators for analysis and change. And also, the role of the teacher is to lead the learners in designing programs for social, educational, and practical economic change. The summary of social reconstructionism is a philosophy of education that looks to education to change society rather than just to teach about it. For the proponents of Reconstructivism, let us listen to Ma'am Mary Rose Hopia. Thank you for listening and learning. I hope you learned something. Maraming salamat po. Goodbye!